a lot of pressure to put on yourself that you're going to keep yourself 100% safe and always be doing what you need to be doing without any accountability. That's why every teenager that I know, who in here uses Snapchat? Well, we all know why we use Snapchat. I'm just going to be blunt. So I'm not getting on you guys. I'm not saying anyone's terrible. I'm not saying if you have Snapchat, you're an awful person. No. My wife has Snapchat, and she uses it every day with her friends, and it drives me insane because I don't like Snapchat. It's not because it's anonymous. It's just because I don't like Snapchat. I think it's annoying. So that's a personal preference. I think, who here thinks Snapchat's annoying? Thank you. Thank you. And notice, I think we had one girl out of the group that thinks Snapchat's annoying. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But she loves it though. So you're not a terrible person if you use it. I'm not saying that. I know you can have a lot of fun with Snapchat, whatever. You can have a lot of fun with Facebook, sharing things with your friends. You can have a lot of fun with Twitter, whatever. You can go subscribe to funny people and see funny videos, blah, 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 blah. I do that stuff. So you can have a lot of fun with it. But the anonymity, though, is what bothers me, honestly. The fact that you can do something, and unless you keep a record of it or your friend keeps a record of it by like taking a screenshot or whatever your phone, you can make it so that it disappears forever. That's where accountability really needs to come into play. Because that ability should never have been given away. Because that's you're in a lose-lose situation there. So you guys need to just go and have for real conversations with whoever it is. Who here is under the age of 16? 16 and under. Who do I got 16 and over? Okay. Who do I got? Do I got anybody 18 in here? 18. Okay. So we have some that are adults, young adults, entering into adulthood. For those of you who are still going to be at home for a while, you need to just sit down with mom and dad. And you're going to blow them away when you do this, but you need to sit down with mom and dad and say, look, I know that you let me have my phone whenever I want, and I know you guys trust me, but we need to have an open relationship with my phone. And I know that's like, what? I have freedom, I'm going to give it away. This is an area you need to give your freedom away. If you're serious about it, if you really seriously want to protect yourselves. My wife at any time can pick my phone up. I can be in the middle of holding it in my hand and using it, and she can at any time come and take it out of my hands. That is an okay thing in my household. It goes the same way. Anytime she could be sitting there in her chair using her phone, if I want to grab it out of her hands and look at it, I can. Now, because of that, we never really do. I've never done that to my wife because I don't think I need to. But you should have that type of relationship with your parents. Now, I think everyone in here, the first instinct, if mom and dad ask for your phone, who here gets upset when mom and dad ask you for your phone? And let's be honest, because I know it always made me mad. And when I had a phone, all you can do when I was a teenager on your phone, literally, I didn't have a picture phone until I was 18. And that's not because I wasn't allowed to. That's because you just couldn't go get a phone that had a camera on it. And the best thing my cell phone did, my first one I had, is, who here knows what that little snake game is? Have you guys seen that? Yes, on those old Nokia phones. Yes, that was my first cell phone, was that Nokia phone with that little snake game on it. So, and then I'm back from the days too that unless you paid a lot of money for like a text package, you didn't have texting. And texting packages were not cheap, and you could only buy it by like 100 or 500 texts at a time, and that was it. There was no unlimited texting when I got my first phone. So all my parents would be able to see when they took my phone was who I've called. And I still, every time they wanted me to see my phone, I get so mad. I didn't want them to see my phone. Because 99% of the time they could trust me and they didn't need to see my phone. And then there was that 1% of the time it's like, stink, they're going to see that I called her and they're not going to be happy. So I know how it is. But having that open relationship with your phone, you know what that did for me? Like I said, 99% of the time for me, 99% of the time, it wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem. And it wasn't a problem because I knew that any time mom and dad can take my phone. So I'm going to make it not a problem. Because why am I going to go do something on here that there's no way I can get rid of it? Now, like I said, I know that you all aren't stupid and you know how to clear your caches and download other web browsers and install VPNs and blah, 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 blah on your phones. So, and probably half of you in here don't know what a VPN is, but the other half does. So I know that. But still, though, that knowledge that someone can look at your phone at any time, it's still going to prevent you from doing 99% of anything that you want to do on there. And trust me, the temptation's going to come. You're going to have that pop-up ad come up that you never intended on seeing. 50% of all teenagers have seen pornography on the internet. 50%. Now, I'm not going to ask in here who has. That's none of my business and none of anybody else's business. And you know, of that, I should say 50% of all teenagers have seen unsolicited pornography on the internet. So we're not talking about the total number of kids that see it or look at it. I'm talking about just the ones who did not want to see it. We're not looking for it, but saw it. It's 50%. You know, on Snapchat, what we talked about a second ago, 95%. This blows my mind. 95% of all traffic, all of it, not just teenagers, not kids, not adults, not girls, not guys, not Europe, not America, all of Snapchat, 95% of it is sexting. 95% of all traffic. That's disturbing. You know, now that's why I don't like Snapchat. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have it, because I know a lot of people, Snapchat can be safe and fun, and there's all kinds of bad stuff that takes place on Facebook. There's all kinds of bad stuff that takes place on Instagram. Lots of bad stuff that takes place on there. Not 95%. Here it gets worse. The number one investor in Snapchat is a Muslim and Islamic prince from Saudi Arabia who hates Americans, hates them, and hates Christians. And he's for the annihilation of Israel. The number one investor in Snapchat. He invested last year. So there's something to think about next time you open up Snapchat. If you're getting my drift, like I said, I'm not saying that you're a bad person if you're using it, but you probably should think about it if you do use it, because there's a lot of bad stuff that takes place on there, and you and I both aren't stupid. You know what takes place on there, and you know what your friends do on there. It's not good. And if you're going to have Snapchat, you need to be accountable with somebody. Somebody needs to see your feeds. Someone needs to see what you're doing. Mom and dad need to be able to take your phone at any time. You probably don't need to be in the middle of the night having your phone in your bedroom. You're saying, Brother Turner, you're being really for real. I am being really for real. Because I know what's happening to the minds of our youth. Because I was a teenager not very long ago. I'm only 29. I'm not that old. And half of you are in here, man, he's ancient. 29 is not old, trust me. You'll feel that when you're 29. So it was not that long ago I was a teenager. And yes, the internet was very young when I was a teenager. When I talk about AOL, I was like 12 when it was AOL. No, my parents they live in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. They have awful internet. I cannot stand going to their house to use the internet. It's depressing. I'm going to their house next week. I'm probably going to use all my data up on my phone. They have an awful internet situation. But nonetheless, when I was a teenager, when I was 16, 17, 18, it's not near as big. Facebook was new. I remember when I was in high school in economics class, we had like fake money to go buy stocks or whatever for economics. And I remember when Google went public. I remember that. I remember when Google first started. I remember going for the first week, Ed started going to google.com and doing a search on it and thinking that this is going to change the internet. And it did. It did change the internet. So, but even though the internet was still younger, it's not like I was at its inception. There was a lot of internet, and there was a lot of stuff on the internet. So the dangers of the internet really weren't much different for me as what they are for you. So your first step is you got to have accountability. If you don't have it now, which like most of you have already told me, you don't have it. You need to create it. And you know what that's going to do for you with mom and dad too? That's going to show mom and dad, man, they're serious about themselves. That's going to take your position in your mom and dad's mind and put you up here. 'Cause that shows maturity. And if you're going to use the internet, you should be mature about it. The second thing is, let's see here, what do we got? There's some practical things that you guys can be doing to protect yourselves on the internet. Who here uses like primarily your primary device that you get on the internet is like a computer? Not I know that technically an iPhone's a computer or whatever, but like an actual laptop or desktop. Who's that's their primary way of accessing the internet? Okay. Windows users. We got Windows users in here. Even if you don't use it as your primary way of using the internet, who all here has a Windows desktop? That's what you have in your home. Okay. Who here are Mac users? I'm not talking about iPhones. I'm talking about Macintosh PCs. We got one. Really? 2, 3. Man, that's depressing. Y'all should switch from Windows to Mac, but that's my personal preference. So honestly, to protect yourselves in the internet, Windows really is better. There's a lot more better solutions for it. I'm not going to spend too much time on this then, since there's not a whole lot of you with desktop PCs, but for those who have desktops in your house, there's some commercial solutions you guys can be using to protect yourselves on the internet. The number one that's out there, I believe is Mac and Windows, is Safe Eyes. I'm sorry, it's called Covenant Eyes now. Covenant Eyes, that's a good solution. I don't like them, to be honest. Who here had their parents have filtering on their internet, first of all? We got some. Okay, well, we need to talk about this because a lot of you don't have any filtering. The problem with programs, and that's who here their parents have internet filtering, but it's just like a piece of software on one machine. Is that, I'm assuming that's probably much all of you that, okay, yeah. So, AKA your phone's not filtered, right? Yeah, okay, that's how it was in our household. We had one machine that had the internet filtering on it. Mom and dad thought, oh, that filters the internet because we had that piece of software on there. Well, that doesn't cover the laptop and the desktop that's in my bedroom. So, that's problem A with those softwares. B, I just don't like how they work, to be honest. I don't like how they work. But if you wanted to use a desktop solution, that's all you have is a desktop, and that's what your parents want to use. Covenant Eyes is basic. There's other stuff out there. I think it's all waste of times. Who here accesses the internet primarily through like a Wi-Fi router in your house? Pretty much everybody, right? Pretty much everybody. Okay, great. Okay, there's a piece of software. There's a company, y'all should write this down. This is something great to use. If you want to talk with mom and dad about doing some filtering at home, you guys need to be looking into OpenDNS. OpenDNS is what it's called. What that does is, I'm not going to explain a bunch of really technical stuff with you guys. I don't think that's why you guys are here. I don't think you want to hear me talk about things you have no idea what I'm talking about. But basically, how every internet device, period, connects to the internet is it has to have an address, just like your home has to have an address to get mail at it. So what happens with OpenDNS is you have your address to all your devices routed through them, and then they filter all traffic that's coming to those numbers. So what that does then is it ends up filtering every device connected to your Wi-Fi. Do you all know what your Wi-Fi router is? You guys know what a Wi-Fi router is? Okay. Yeah, the little box with the lights on it, exactly. Y'all know what the little box with the lights is, right? There we go. Okay. What you do with OpenDNS is you got to log into that box, and then there's a place on that box that you can change some numbers in it, and it will connect it with your OpenDNS account. Best part of OpenDNS is 100% free for home use. It's free. So when you go and talk with mom and dad, say, Mom and Dad, Went to youth congress. I learned about some internet safety things, and there's really some things we need to do because I want to protect myself while I'm on the internet. Another great thing with OpenDNS too is they have different levels of protection. So like if your mom and dad, like this was always the problem in my house with some of the things my dad does medically. When he would use on his desktop PC growing up the software, he didn't really have much control over the level of content protection, and he ended up needing to get rid of internet filtering at our house growing up because, like I said, he didn't understand that was only on his computer anyways, but we ended up needing to get rid of it because it just was filtering out things that he needed for research and stuff for what he does as a doctor. And the nice thing with OpenDNS, you can tell mom and dad, because that's the first thing I get from parents. A lot of parents who do come and have a talk with me, or teenagers that come have a talk with me, they want to talk with mom and dad. They want me to talk with mom and dad because they want to be responsible for themselves. I get the problem of, well, what is it going to do to me with my use of the internet? Because there's things I want to do on there that's okay for me as an adult, but I don't want that. So I don't want that filtered out. I'd rather just have some talks with, have some open conversations with my kids, and just lay some boundaries with the internet. But we do want basic filtering. Like we want, at least pornography filtered, which I think is what no one's going to disagree that should be at least filtered. Nice thing with OpenDNS is it actually has levels you guys can choose. So you have like just that bad stuff filtered out, and then higher up it goes. Till the point that if your parents wanted to make it so that your internet has to be logged in before you can even access it, they can do that. And everyone gasps because they don't want that. So that is the best way to go, OpenDNS. The nice thing with OpenDNS too, and the reason why I ask is who all here accesses your internet through a Wi-Fi router primarily, is it is the only way truly to filter your phones. So your cell phone, I mean, you all probably know that already, but I'm surprised at how many people don't realize that. But there is no piece of software you can download. I've seen some, but it doesn't really work. So if you really want to be able to make your internet safe on your phone, that is the way to do it. Or on your iPad, that's the only way really to do it. So, and that's why I love OpenDNS, because it's the first really the first solution of any that I know of that actually will filter all internet content that comes into your house. So, and taking a step backwards, after saying all that, I know what some of you are already thinking, well, what happens when I leave the house? Exactly. There is no filtering. The moment you choose to take this device and take it with you, it all goes with you. Or your iPad, if you have a 4G connected iPad, whatever, it all goes with you. So that's why I come back to the first thing and why I started out with accountability. You got to have that open relationship with somebody. If you're an adult or you're going into that stage of life where you're not going to be at mom and dad's house anymore, you're going off to college, whatever, you got to have that brother, sister, friend, whoever that you make a pact with them. Look, you can look at my phone anytime. You can pick up my device at any time. I know you still can hide stuff, and for those of you who are the naysayers out there, well, I still can delete it, whatever. Well, okay, yeah, well, fine. But what happens that one time they asked to take your device, and you didn't have time to delete it yet? That's the thing to think about. That's where to me the accountability at least helps you. It's doing something, and you should be doing something. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this generation of Christian young people is way better than the ones I grew up with, and you can handle it. I don't believe that. I think that we have the greatest group of teenagers in the world here at this church, and probably the greatest group of teenagers in the world here at Youth Congress. I honestly do believe that. I'm not going to stand here and say I think your generation's awful. I mean, I'm probably part of your generation, to be honest. So I don't think that you guys are awful. I just think that you guys are in a situation that really no other generation up to your point has been in, where you have open and free access to anything and everything you could ever want at any time in your pocket. And at some point, mom and dad aren't responsible. especially since most mom and dads still at this point, now starting with our generation going forward, it won't be that way anymore. But still, I believe still with this generation with parents, most parents just don't even understand. They don't realize how much and how easy access is to stuff that you guys don't need to be getting onto. And when something happens on the internet, especially when something with you on the internet happens that shouldn't happen, especially when it's unsolicited, you need to go talk with somebody about it, specifically mom and dad. Don't keep it to yourselves. 25% of all unsolicited activity goes unreported. I think I said that at the beginning. 25%. That's children and teenagers too, by the way. Kids. 7-year-olds. They get on the internet that some predator goes after. They never tell anybody. And then we wonder why 75% of all those that have that unsolicited event happen have internet addictions. I'll just tell you right now, unless you're the strongest person in the world, you can't handle that. And that I honestly think that's why most parents don't do. That's why they're not doing something for you. Mom and dad, your youth pastor, people like me who want to be your friend and help you with this, we can't help unless we know there's a problem. And that's why mom and dad's uneducated, because no one's educating mom and dad, because they rarely ever get on the internet, yet let alone even think about it, let alone know there's any issues with it. That's that bad. Please don't keep that to yourself. Go talk with mom and dad. Say, Mom, I was on the internet today doing this. I wasn't doing anything I'm not supposed to. I don't want you to think I'm getting on there and getting myself into trouble, but this happened today. Share it with them. They want to help you. Your youth pastor wants to help you, and that's the only way they're going to be able to help you. I'm going to try to switch gears just a little bit here. I'm going to talk about some practical protection still. And this kind of has nothing to do with pornography and that type of stuff on the internet, but who here, once again, I think there was probably about half of you that had computers in your house. Who here has like virus protection on your computers? Okay, pretty much everybody does. That's great. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this then, but you need to make sure you have good virus protection on your computer. There are some awful viruses out there, especially for Windows, and most of our users in here are Windows. This has nothing to do with like your phone, obviously, and stuff. But you need to be having good virus software in there. Do you need to go pay for virus software? No. Do not go and pay for virus protection. Please don't go pay for virus protection. When I was an IT director, every single computer on our campus used Microsoft's free Security Essentials software. That's just do something like that. You're going to get just as much, if not better, protection than the paid stuff. I think it's on newer PCs on like Windows 10 stuff. I think it's called Windows Defender now. I think it might come pre-installed on the machines. If you have something like that, you're good to go for the most part. There's awful viruses out there. Awful viruses out there. I'm not talking about viruses like looking for like key logging, like your password or getting your credit card information or anything like that. I'm talking like that they are going to try to like install pornography on your machine, and then they pop up and say that they are virus software and they want you to pay them $60 and they'll remove all the viruses. Yeah, they're awful, and they're awful to remove. It is a nightmare. So please, if you have a Windows PC, put good virus software on there. It's worth it to you. It's 100% worth it. It's going to help you with the other stuff we've been talking about, having good virus software on there. Do we have any questions? I've been talking for a while nonstop. Any questions at all? Yes.
You said it like for all the Wi-Fi, but does that also protect the internet, like desktop as well?
Yes. Anything that's yes, because your desktop still like, is it wired in? Yes. Any wired in desktop, because you're still pulling the internet from the same place. What happens is the box with the blinking lights on it, as someone put it. What happens is that there's actually like a system in it that sends out the addresses to all your computers. And the other piece of software on it does the translating of those numbers that match like for websites and stuff. That is where you're changing numbers that control that. If you guys get interested in this, or your parents do, or mom and dad say, you can tell mom and dad don't really have an interest in doing anything about it, but you want to, they say you can do whatever you want, you can do it, and they leave it up to you. You want to research it? If you just Google search OpenDNS, you're going to find, I think it's OpenDNS.com. You're going to find it, I believe, just right on their website. They have tutorials on how to set it up. Who here has Comcast? Does anybody have Comcast? I was going to say probably the majority of you have Comcast. I know for sure with Comcast, they have not only do they have a tutorial on there of exactly how to set it up, because I'm not going to lie, it is more technical. And obviously some of the paid softwares, it's easier. You just buy it and install it and you're done. But this one, requires logging in your router or whatever, blah, 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 blah. It makes it really, really easy because they just, with Comcast, they actually have, each step has pictures with it. But I do know they have like general instructions that are generalized, like logging into your router and stuff, blah, 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 blah. If you ever need any help with anything, I'm always more than willing to help. My email address is just matt.turner@thecrowncollege.com. If you ever had a question about something, you can of course call. Your parents can call me. I'm more than willing. When I was doing IT full time, I would every single week have 5 or 6 different parents calling me from the Christian school or from the church or brother, sisters, cousins, friend that heard that I can help them with this. I began calls all the time when I was doing this full time. So I do not mind it. I'm more than willing to. You have to protect your mind. Satan wants to destroy your mind. You know why I give half these statistics? Because what it really is, what it all shows in the end, is in the background, like with Snapchat and stuff in the background, what it all means is Satan is in control. He's the one that's behind everything that goes on the internet because he wants to destroy your mind. He wants to make you useless for the Lord, get you addicted to something that you shouldn't be. That's what's really going on. And you need to recognize that. And that's why I challenge you. I think there was like 5 of you in here that said that you have limitations by your parents. I'm not saying your parents are bad people. Your parents are great people, I'm sure, just like mine. But guess what? I didn't have any of the restrictions either. And even though my phone, all it could do was make phone calls, basically, I still, even with them having the ability to take it from me anytime they want to, I still was allowed to take it to my bedroom at night and plug it in and charge it. And you will do a world of good for yourself if you take your phone and your iPad and your laptop and whatever you got, and at night when you go to bed, don't take it to bed with you. Just go and take it in the living room, take it in the kitchen, wherever, find an outlet and plug it in and leave it. Because the first thing you do in the morning doesn't need to be get on the internet, and the last thing you do at night for sure doesn't need to be get on the internet. So I know I'm being blunt, but I think it's time that we be a little blunt because we all know what the truth is. Like I said, I went to Christian school. Okay, so I'm not green behind the ears of what goes on. I know what you guys see. I know what you guys hear. I know you guys know what's going on. I'm not stupid. I went to Christian school, and we dealt with marijuana being sold in the locker room before and after basketball games. Okay, so I know that I'm not stupid. I know just because we go to Christian school, if you go to Christian school, that it can at times be just as real as public school. And you guys know what's going on. You're not stupid. You have your phones in your pockets. So, what time do we got? 1:47. Do any of you guys have any questions? Any questions at all? Yes. My email is Matt, M-A-T-T, I spell Matt with 2 T's, .Turner, Turner, at thecrowncollege.com. So once again, I don't want you guys to take it the wrong way. I don't really know any of y'all in here. I don't think you guys are bad people. I just want to help you guys. You just have cell phones. Do you have internet at the house, or do you just get it through your phone? That I had the same question yesterday. Honestly, I always try to give people and parents and kids the answers they want to hear, but the biggest thing you can do for yourself, here's something else. I forgot to tell you guys about this when we were talking about virus protection. When you're on, one thing you can do to help yourself, just first step to anything, I don't know how I missed this. First step to anything, go to Google next time you get on your computer, even if it's on your iPad. And yeah, I'm sure probably most of you have a Google account. If you don't, just go to Gmail or whatever and sign up for one. It's free. Unless your parents don't. I know some people, their parents don't let them have their own email. So don't do what I'm telling you if your parents told you not to do it. But go to Google, log in on just google.com. Don't go to like gmail.com and log in. I'm not talking about your email. I'm talking about Google itself. On google.com, on the search engine homepage, if you log into it, there's actually a preferences panel for all of Google, and you can tell Google to enable Safe Search. And with Safe Search on, it's not perfect, because the big point I'm trying to make is none of this is perfect. That's why we always come back to the accountability. You always got to have some sort of accountability, because at the end of the day, you just got to be a strong individual and have a walk with the Lord and have a close relationship with your parents, because that's the best protection, and the best way to be safe on the internet is to guard your heart and be having a close walk with the Lord and having a close relationship with your parents. That's the best way to do it, above any of the suggestions I've given. So you can go on there and you can turn Safe Search on. There is one annoying thing with Safe Search on YouTube. It will automatically, for all Google services, enable Safe Search if you turn it on. So now, though, Google has changed their policy. It probably was 3 years ago. Now all religious content on YouTube is now considered unsafe, which is absurd. So if you turn Safe Search on Google and you do anything like you like to go on YouTube and like go to different churches and watch sermons or listen to music or something like that on YouTube. If you go back to YouTube then and go to your settings, you can turn Safe Search off, but obviously there's negative things that creates. So that's why I say, once again, at the end of the day, you got to have a close walk. Having a close walk with the Lord and a close walk with your parents is the best way to protect yourself on the internet. Coming back to your question, on the iPhone, you can actually turn on your iPhone. You can turn Safe Search on your iPhone. I believe it's under General Settings inside the Settings app. Did anybody know that? Yeah. Okay. Great. Good. I did teach you guys something new today. Yeah. In your iPhone, you can actually turn Safe Search on. It actually works pretty well, to be honest. It does work pretty well, especially if just blocking against the basics, like stopping you from even searching for content that's not good. The big hitters that content delivery people, we'll put it that way, of bad stuff. It will block all that. So your basic pornography filtering. If you turn Safe Search on your iPhone, it actually does work pretty well. Now, obviously, that can just be turned off, so we come back to accountability. Mom and Dad can take my phone, and they can see if Safe Search is on. And coming back to accountability, too, just since most of you didn't know it's there, your parents don't know it's there, so when you build a relationship of accountability with them, you say, oh, by the way, just so you know, right there is Safe Search on my phone, and if you ever get on here and see that's off, you and I have a problem. And once again, it's like, wait, so I'm going to go from having freedom to not having freedom anymore? It's not about not having freedom. It's all about being able to enjoy something that is enjoyable. I'll admit, I gave that statistic about average American 6 hours a day on Facebook. I don't do that, but I'm probably 18 hours a day on connected. I am, and it's way too much. I'll admit it. It's way too much. Now, I do what I do for a living. Everything that I do revolves around a computer and living a digital lifestyle, but I usually do way too much, and that's another thing that can help you all is who really needs to be on Facebook for 6 hours? I mean, who here checks their Facebook at least 20 times a day? Who here checks it 10 times a day? Are we all being honest? That's awesome. I mean, that's great. That's great. That's your biggest defense to protecting your heart, is just don't get on it all the time. There's endless amounts of content, but there's only so much stuff that you really need to be doing. Go out with your friends, something, anything other than just sitting around doing nothing on the internet. I love the internet. I really do, but there's only so much time you really need to spend on it. Just get off of it. And then, you have a 100% protection when you're not there. because you're not there. It's not in front of you for you to see something you shouldn't see or be tempted to look up something you shouldn't look up. So just get rid of it. And here's a suggestion too, just a for real thought as well. For those of you in here, 75% of all men in America are addicted to pornography. Let's just be for real. So speaking to the guys, if there's a guy in here that struggles with this, guess what you should do? You should go to mom and dad and give them this and say, I never want to see this again. And if I need a phone because I drive and I don't want to get stranded on the side of the road one day, they still make phones. You're not going to fool me because I know better. They make phones that aren't this. Get one of them. Because if you can't handle it, it's not something, well, one of these days I'm going to stop doing that on the internet. No, you're not. You're not. And I don't say that because it's just some statistic I looked up on the internet. It's because I have friends whose lives have been ruined. It's not just something that won't hurt you. It is hurting you and will ruin your life. I promise you. I mean, in our generation's time, we have already seen politicians fall from high levels of office because of things that happen on their phones and on the internet and things they were caught in. It will ruin your life. It will ruin your marriage when you get older. Like, that's so long away. No, it's not. No, it is not long away. Like I said, some of you probably think 29 years old is ancient. Oh, my friend, it's not. It was not that long ago when I was 12 years old and we were taking on the youth trip, taking the youth pastor's underwear and freezing them and hanging them from the roof of the house. That was not very long ago. You know, when I was going up and being that idiot chugging down the whole can of sardines and the whole can of jalapenos at the same time and then throwing up all over my friends. No, that was me not too long ago. That really wasn't that long ago. So, and you know, it wasn't that long ago that I got married, and it wasn't that long ago when I had a child and she's already going to be 2 years old and I have no idea how that happened. Life moves by very quickly. And at this point, you're like, I'm never going to get through high school. I promise you, the day that you receive your diploma for high school is basically the same day you receive your diploma for college. And for the couple parents we have in here, they'll tell you the same thing. Yeah, it goes by so quick. You had another question? You have an Android phone? I'm sorry. Somebody asked me that question too. I really don't know. That's my fault. I don't know what. Well, I do know with having an Android phone, since most of the like all the internet and stuff on it is basically powered through Google services. So if you do turn Safe Search on in Google, that is putting Safe Search on basically for the majority of your device as well. So that's kind of, if you do that, you're basically doing it for the device, especially if you're using Google for your primary search engine, which on a Google device, of course, you are. So, I mean, that would be your best course of action. Once again, having an open relationship with somebody, keeping yourself accountable, that's really where we all will always come back to that. So, any other questions? Yes.
General settings, I don't see this.
Just Google search for it. It's probably not under general settings then, but I do know there's Safe Search built. They put it in like iOS 7 or 8, so it's there. It's under settings. It's probably not under general. I don't remember where it's at. Is it under restrictions? There you go. It's under restrictions. There's a novel idea too. If you want to be serious about the internet, or you have struggles with the internet, and you want to go and, like I said, you just need to go talk with mom and dad. They want to help you. And are you going to have a bad moment in time with mom and dad or youth pastor or whoever when you have that encounter of telling them what you're struggling with? Yes. But when you're 29, you're going to be glad you did it. And you're going to be glad I protected myself. You're going to be glad I'm glad I told somebody about this. No one's going to think you're an awful individual. It's America, and it's shoved down our faces. I went to college in California. It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. The the way life is right now. It just is. And being accountable to mom and dad and having a close walk with the Lord, that's the first step. And you got to do it. You have to do it. I've made you guys listen to me ramble on long enough. Anybody else have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm assuming there's like no way that you could get something for like Snapchat or your.
No. See, and that's once again, I'm just. I don't think anyone's awful that uses Snapchat. I don't, honestly. Don't take me the wrong way. I'm not think I do. If you came up to me and say I have Snapchat, I will not think any less of you at all. But you'd probably be wise in who you have as friends on Snapchat at least. I think that's enough said. I think we all know where I'm going with that. So you have to be responsible for yourselves. That's the end of the story. 'Cause at the end of the day, you and I both know, with relation to the last question, we all know at the end of the day, you're going to be able to do things that mom and dad don't see that you can hide. You got to have that walk with the Lord, and you got to think about what you're doing to yourself. Not about what others think, but what you're doing to yourself. You just got to think about that and consider it in your minds. Any other questions? Anybody? Okay, great. If you guys do have anything else, you want to ask me anything else more